but that's his time. And so I think, and some people it's the other way around. And right now, you kind of shock yourself because you don't know what is going to be you. Right now, I'm a disciplinarian, which is kind of crazy.
You didn't think you would be?
No. Like, I'm like, yeah.
Is it because you're there more, or is it?
I don't know. It's like, maybe because when they're younger, I don't know. Because he sort of, my husband sees the bigger things down the road that are really going to be worth disciplining. And I see, the like drawing on the couch and something that freaks me out. So we have like different things that get us. But it is, but it's hard at first because you kind of, when you're, this is not true of all dads obviously, but when you first have a newborn baby, a lot of the stuff you end up doing yourself. And especially if you're on maternity leave and they don't get paternity leave, then you're the one at home all the time. So it feels like you're doing everything. And you have to kind of remember that that's not always going to be true. Like now, he's the one that gets the park in Brussels because I don't know what I'm doing. So it's kind of a give and take. But I think people get into a rut. They're like, you do everything, I do nothing.
It's really good to think about it that way.
Yeah.
Because, listening to everyone say, my friend just had twins.
So that's hard.
I just moved to the suburbs. And, I talked to her last night. She's like, meals at a work dinner, you can just hear like chaos in the background. I was like, all right, call me later. And, I think twins is a whole other ballpark and whatever, but I think just thinking about it that way of like, it will totally shift and change.
Yeah.
And that's a really good way to think about it.
I think it's true also for like working moms, because I get a lot of questions about like working, and I feel guilty about it a lot. It's hard, but I also feel like I would like to work really hard now, so that when my sons are in high school and there are more opportunities for them to do things that could really affect them and mess up, I want to be there more then. And I wish I could be there now too, but I can't do both. So my sort of plan is to work hard now and then be around more later. And I think people sort of choose one or the other, but it doesn't mean that just because you work now that you won't have that opportunity later on.
Do you have childcare at home?
Yeah. My son, my oldest son is at school now. Well, preschool. I think it's school. But preschool. But you have to sort of figure out, just as much as it's a kind of quid pro quo with your partner, you have to sort of figure out what is going to work for you too in terms of being a working mom, stay-at-home mom, or a combination, or maybe something later down the road. And I know the sort of typical thing is to start working now and then go back to work when your child is older. Not typical, but that's sort of the general pattern. And I think I'm kind of doing it the other way around. And it's hard because I get nervous about it, but I'm like, I'm going to be there when they try and smoke pot. That's what's going to happen. No.
Did you, this is a little situation I have now, did you, love your OB?
So,
should you love your OB, or should you just be like, this is a good doctor, and I don't really like her so much, but she's going to deliver my kid, and I'm going to have a healthy kid, and the office annoys me, and should you, how did you feel, and what do you suggest? I'm in the process of maybe switching doctors at 26 weeks.
I think it depends what it is you don't like about them.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. And I don't know why more emphasis is not put on choosing your doctor and choosing your hospital, and even with all the sort of knowledge I have, I only just found out that in New York City, there's different ways to administer the epidural. I thought in every hospital in New York City they did it the same way. Apparently that's not true. And I was like, what are you even talking about? So, and that's a huge thing, because if you want the epidural, it's great, but I had a really great experience with my epidural. There are other people that don't, because they're administered in different ways in different hospitals. And you have to choose a hospital based on what type of birth you want. And then you have to choose a doctor based on them working at that hospital, and then you liking that doctor. And I think we don't go around, that's so completely backward. You don't find out the hospital until you take your tour at 30 weeks.
Right.
Which is totally backwards, actually. Right. So honestly, I was just now, if you're not happy with her, sort of doing that route. Investigating the hospital first and finding a hospital.
So how do you find out about that?
So you can definitely, they have to give you that information if you ask. In New York City, I personally have a lot of experience with New York Presbyterian Cornell, and I've had great experiences there, and I know what they do is great. But you can go and ask, what are their C-section rates, what are their philosophies, how do they administer the epidural, all that kind of stuff. You can get all that information. And then finding a doctor that delivers at the hospital that you like, and then being with that doctor. But for me, I completely trust my doctor, and he has made me feel really safe in really tricky situations. And that's where I see him sort of shine. So a day-to-day visit, it's like really awkward. Like you lie there and he like futzes around and it's like awkward. Like you're lying on a bed with your legs in the air.
Yeah.
But when there's been a problem, he is amazing. So I wouldn't want anybody else to deliver my baby.
But I don't know if...
Right, you don't know that.
Yeah.
So what do you like about her?
As an example,
Yeah.
the first time that I went to her, she sat with me and my husband and did a really thorough medical history. Like, I was glad about that. I felt very comfortable. I was referred to her by a friend of mine who used her. And she asked me, my internist had put me on vitamin D supplements before, like, I got pregnant a year ago, and I'd been taking them. When I found out I was pregnant, I stopped taking them until my OB appointment because I didn't know if I should take them or not. She said, okay, great, we'll check on your blood test, we'll check your vitamin D, and I'll tell you if you should go back on it. Stay off of it for now. She checked my vitamin D. She said, it's fine. You don't need to go back on it. Just take your prenatal. Every single visit I've seen her for, and it hasn't been that many. It's once a month, so it's been like 4 or 5 visits.
Yeah.
So how's your vitamin D going? Are you taking your vitamin D? I'm like,
She doesn't remember.
I'm like, no, you told me. And every time I'm polite, and every time I'm like, no, you told me that I didn't need to. She's like, oh, yeah, it was okay on your blood test? Oh, okay. So it's I know it's a little thing.
Yeah.
It has no bearing on how she would deliver my baby, but it, like, rubbed me the wrong way. She, like, switched her days in the middle of, like 2 months ago, so I picked her specifically out of all the doctors in the practice who I was referred to, because I work, and so the days that she was there were days that I could easily be at the appointment. I make the appointment, they're like, oh no, she switched her day, she's only here on Tuesdays now, which is, like, not a good day for me, that, like, I would have probably picked someone else that I was also referred to in the practice. I don't know. I don't know if it's enough reason to... I don't have enough knowledge about if... I don't have anything wrong with me so far. So I don't know if... I don't know... I feel like she's a competent doctor, but I just am rubbed the wrong way in, like, various different ways. And is that enough to really switch at this point?
Now, is she definitely going to deliver you, or is it in practice? Right, so that's the other thing.
Exactly.
Right.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I would go with your feeling.
I'd go with your feeling.
Well, I have an appointment. And, okay, so then she takes my insurance, and that was one of the reasons why I picked her. And I got this great referral to someone who doesn't take insurance, who I have an appointment with on Monday to just go meet. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
The thing is, when you're in that situation, like birth, whether it's an easy birth or a difficult birth, it's really intimate, and you don't really want anybody in there that you're ticked off by.
Right?
Even if it's a small thing to be ticked off by. You know? Like, it could be...
do I sound crazy with the vitamin D? I mean, no, it's not going to make or break if my baby is healthy or not.
No, I mean, but it means that she doesn't, what you feel is that she doesn't know who you are.
Yes, and
she
I take care
forgets
of...
between visits.
Exactly.
Right.
And I'm a pediatric dentist, so, like, I take care of patients, and I, like, know how I operate on my end of things, and I just don't feel like she sees a lot of people, and she's got to do a good job with everyone, and I just feel like she doesn't know who I am, and maybe that's how everyone is. I don't know. That's not how everyone is. I don't know.
And, you know, if you can't talk to her, even if it's, for example, to ask about the hospital's C-section rates or the hospital's, you know, epidural policy, all that kind of stuff, if she's not open to having that kind of discussion with you, that means that you're going to have the birth that she basically dictates.
Or whichever other person happens to be
in the room at the time.
Right?
Which, of course, you want your doctor to tell you what needs to be done if there's an emergency situation, but you also want somebody that sort of supports how you feel, and at least knows you a little bit. I mean,
I mean, she pretends like she knows me, but every time she asks about my vitamin D, I'm like, hey, you have no idea who I am at all.
Right.
And maybe, but like I said, like...
No, it's not normal.
Okay.
Yeah. Go and see a couple others and see how you feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She ticks you off now. She's going to really tick you off.
I'm pretty hormonal. You said maybe I'm just overreacting. I don't know. Maybe she's just following up on the vitamin D. I don't know. And she always is like, why are you fixing kids' baby teeth? Like, I don't understand. They fall out. I'm like,
okay.
You're a doctor.
She's like attacking your career.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, I took my nephew to his dentist and he was screaming and I didn't understand. And she's like, I don't get. Why don't you just let them all fall out?
I wouldn't be. I wouldn't
You're
be.
a doctor. You're a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you saying this to me?
Yeah.
I was like, you're kind of just pissing me off, but maybe I'm just overreacting.
No.
I
switched OBs in the middle of
Did you?
You should be excited to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it should be like, it's
I failed my
okay.
glucose test. Like, you have to come back for the 3-hour test. I'm like, I can't bear the thought of being in your office for 3 hours.
Going to the OB when you're pregnant actually should be an exciting time because other than the weighing part, you get to see the baby and you get to see the heartbeat, and it's like a really cool thing because between visits, it's like you don't really know what's going on. And it's like that time where you just, I always felt good and safe when I left the doctor's like, okay, I heard the heartbeat, like everything is fine. It's like a good thing. And you're going to have to start going much more regularly than once a month. So do you hate the situation?
I don't hate it. So I'm like, do I dislike it enough to actually switch and pay out of pocket, which is not like the main reason why I would or wouldn't switch.
Right.
But it's like it's a commitment to switch, and then I'm like, I have to ask for my records. Do I not like this situation enough to actually make this bold switch? And it's not me. I'm like not. I'm like go with the flow kind
If
of
it's not
person.
you and it's picking you up this much,
Yeah.
I think you should move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Go see some others. If you like.
I have an
know,
appointment on Monday.
What do you think of pediatric dentistry?
Exactly. Should I be fixing the teeth? Should I not be fixing the teeth? That's your test.
Yeah. No, I think you feel good about your doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's important.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I like my doctor. I had a similar situation where not a similar situation. My first doctor did not deliver my baby, and the doctor that delivered my baby was amazing. It was really complicated, and I was like, "You're gonna be my doctor from now on." And he is, and he actually delivers all his patients' babies. So you kind of don't have to worry about that. I don't know how he does it. I think he takes unlimited number of patients.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, he has like a number because of his bat line
Okay.
that you can call when you go into labor. So you can turn up your but it's really important.
Yeah, I lucked out with a good doctor.
Yeah.
I was going in for like 5-6 years after I left a practice that had a woman just like this.
Yeah.
She was like this holistic doctor. She changed her hours all the time. You get a call like 2 days before your appointment that you would set like 3 months prior.
Yeah.
It usually works like from 2 to 4, you know, on Wednesdays. I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy's great. Like, he's known me. He's dealt with many other issues. Like, he's the most charismatic guy in the world, which is fine. I don't really like that sort of, like, I just want to be like, everything's cool, great, thanks, bye. I'm not into talking, discussing.
Right.
Right.
That's
so,
how I am. So
See,
that's
it's
why I'm
about
surprised that
but,
like this woman bothers me. Because I'm just like, I'm easy. I'm not going to ask you a lot of questions. Like,
That's the thing. I
she
think
bugs me.
you are, and yet she can't remember.
Yeah.
It's just if somebody doesn't, it's a really personal thing to be pregnant and have a baby, and they can't remember a very simple fact, especially when they have the records in front of them on the computer when they look it up.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's very impersonal.
It does.
And it's not an impersonal thing that you're going through. So
Yes.
I think the other thing, if you're looking for a new doctor and you have the opportunity to pick, the one thing that has been so helpful to me, and I asked my doctor what he thought about this, because he actually always recommends this, and it was just a perk that I didn't know he did. He responds to emails.
Yeah.
And it's huge, because I feel really comfortable with him. So I have like you have crazy questions when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And even I like should probably know the answer to them, but I get crazy and I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, I need to check. Like I, for whatever reason, don't like still water when I'm pregnant. It's weird. Whatever. I am strange. So I only drink sparkling water. And it was getting to the point in my last pregnancy where I'm like, I'm drinking so much fizzy water. Like, can this be good? And I started getting crazy. You know, like Googling, like, is this okay? So I emailed him at like the dead of night. I'm like, I've been drinking a lot of water. I mean, a lot. And he emails me right back and he's like, unless you're having more than 10 liters, you're fine. And I was like, okay, good. Because we're going to go in with that, but I was genuinely worrying about my baby being in like a jacuzzi. You know, so up there, which is totally ridiculous. Like, it's crazy.